Hey guys, we've got a very special video today. We've actually just received the new M3 Pro from Poco, and they've challenged me to kind of vlog a day in the life of what I do with the device. And unfortunately in Toronto, everything is still in lockdown, but thankfully one of the few things that we can still do is drive. And this video actually comes at the perfect time as I'm kind of torn what to do with the vehicle which I'm driving right now, which is a 2018 911, a 991.2 GTS. It's crazy to think it's already been 4 years with this car. It's 2021. And the weirder thing, this is kind of sad also, I currently have just over 9,000 kilometers in 4 years, so I barely drive this car. It's almost brand new. It kind of feels like it's brand new, but yeah, 4 years, I kind of have a couple options. I know that everyone in the YouTube tech community especially is gung-ho about electric. They're all Tesla fanboys. I know electric vehicles are the future, and eventually gas engines like this will just become extinct, and places around the world are kind of discontinuing the sale of gas engines in the future. Look at places like California, but there are still some things holding me to gas engines. This is one of them. I hope you guys can hear that. And that feeling of hitting the perfect shift, getting to redline in this car, 7,000 RPM in, say, a GT3, 9,000. The engine is humming. You cannot replicate that in an electric vehicle. And I know my three options: going electric, the GT3, which I have a pre-order on for the 992, and the third option, which we'll talk about last, is potentially just keeping this car. But before we get to that, let's talk about my experience in 4 years that I've had my 911 before we head on over to swap it out for a Taycan Turbo S. So to the things that I love, you can probably already tell / hear that the reason why I'm such a Porsche fanboy, or true to the brand, they're one of the few sports cars that still offer a stick shift for their cars. For me anyways, you can kind of tell I don't drive too often, but when I do, I want to feel engaged with the car. I want to have that connection, and having that third pedal, getting to that red line, that's a really tough feeling to describe over camera. And I think anyone that's just driven a manual car kind of knows what I'm talking about. And I love the fact that the 991.2 is the last model of the 911 that does not have a particulate filter, which is something that sits in the exhaust to help with emission controls. And if you've heard any of the new 992s, it sounds like a Dyson vacuum cleaner. The sound of this car is what kind of keeps me coming back. And I do drive it in sport mode, so it does have auto blip. I get those snap, crackle, and pops out of the back. I know that isn't for everyone, but like I said, every one of those 9,000 kilometers plus on this car has put a grin on my face every single time. But yeah, that's kind of been my experience with it. And before we swap this out for the Taycan, we're gonna take some photos with the Poco M3. So it's got a triple camera system, a 48 megapixel main, which is the main camera that we'll be mostly testing. Let's do movie magic and switch to location number 1 for the photo shoot. All right, so pretty successful photo shoot from what I can tell, kind of just going through all of the photos. The M3 definitely can hold its own as long as you have decent lighting, which thankfully we're outside. It's actually funny, we ran into a 992 Carrera S right around the corner. I think it's called Aventura or Aventurine Green, which I kind of geeked out about. It's this guy's successor, but it just doesn't sound as good in my opinion. We're gonna do our little second movie magic cut, head over to Porsche Center, North Toronto. It's where I picked up my GTS and where they kind of swap out, loan me out some goodies. It's the Taycan Turbo. I think if there was any electric vehicle, that would be the one to make me switch, and they always are kind of enticing me with some new toys to make me swap out. So let's cut to there. All right, so you guys can see where I've parked, and looky what we've got waiting for us. So the Taycan Turbo, this is, I think, in its iconic colorway. So it's the Stormtrooper look. We've got the white with, of course, the Mission E wheels, 21 inches, carbon ceramic brakes. It's got the full shebang. And before we take the Taycan away, I just want to head inside to the show floor just to snap a couple more pics with the Poco phone, say hi to some of the peeps that have always hooked me up, and see what other goodies they've got inside. Let's take a look. All right, so the Taycan Turbo, we've got a full charge, just over 420 kilometers. I have around a 2-hour drive ahead of me, so more than enough time to tell you my thoughts. This is, I think, the 4th or 5th time that I've driven the Taycan Turbo. I've had it for maybe close to 2-3 months in total. The first thing that you cannot get over is how incredibly fast this car is. We just shifted the camera. So just over 615 horsepower, over 600 pound-foot of torque. The acceleration is like you've been in a roller coaster. I know this car is being out now. People have probably watched videos, but it is lightning fast. This is by far the quickest car that I've ever driven. It makes my 911 feel sluggish. The torque, because it's an electric engine, is there instantaneously. There is no rev up. There is no power band that you need to get to. And the moment you touch the gas, you start flying. And yes, it is addicting. Yes, it is the fastest thing that you'll experience in a car, but it isn't, I would say, as rewarding as hitting a perfect shift. It feels like I just don't have to work for it. And for this car, I can get up to ludicrously ridiculous speeds very quickly. And you can probably tell with my hand, I don't know what to do with this. I'm so used to rowing through gears, and I'm sadly almost a little bit bored. That engagement level, that third pedal, which my second foot, my left foot, is not working on. I just feel like I'm almost losing something. And that's very personal. That's that analog. That's maybe a bit of an old school mentality. That's maybe why I still rock a analog watch versus a digital watch, my Apple Watch, which can precisely keep track of time better than this. There is something nice about having a piece of analog tech. It's the same reason why people still shoot film, why people don't like instant coffee, why people love to have some sort of tactile feedback. And don't get me wrong about this interior. I think it is the best in an electric vehicle. You've got screens galore, but I miss having the option to just manually change my air conditioning. I miss a fine-tuned knob. Now I have to go into the menu system, kind of press around on the screen, get this thing dirty with a million fingerprints, which it collects to move something as simple as an air vent. That's stupid. The Poco phone, which I'm using right now for GPS, can't even integrate into this because this is Apple CarPlay only. I think they're coming out with Android Auto in 2022, 23 for security reasons. Also stupid. And the thing which I initially didn't like, which was the styling, which was all this extra space, that's actually kind of switched now, and that's what I love the most about the Taycan. Probably more so to do with the fact that I have Link now. He can easily fit into the back, all the cargo space to carry all my camera gear. I appreciate those things more now over the fact that this is probably the best electric vehicle, in my opinion, that you can currently get. All right, so as we kind of pull closer to my girlfriend's place now, back into more traffic, we have around 120 kilometers left, and according to my GPS, there's actually a Porsche dealership, and I sadly actually have to juice this up because I can't go all the way there and back again in one go. And to me, that is the biggest reason why I cannot do electric cars. For me anyways, in Toronto, I still think Canada in general, the infrastructure is just not there yet, unless You just live in the city unless you're charging it every night. If you don't need to go further than 300 kilometers, it is almost impossible to do so without spending a lot more time, because you'll need to take maybe an extra couple hours just to charge up. The infrastructure of the charging system is just nowhere near the US, maybe even Europe. I'm not too sure how you guys are doing out there. It quite frankly just sucks, and I've taken this to the worst chargers, level 1, level 2 chargers, where I am getting maybe a kilometer every 2-3 minutes. I am not sticking around for 2 hours, 3 hours to get a full charge. It's just not for me. This will open up, and we're charging. So as we kind of wait patiently for this car to charge, there's no better time to talk about the Poco M3. And remember, most of the B-roll in this vid is shot on this device, but unlike this car, which seems to drain on battery pretty quickly, at least this has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So across this entire weekend, I'll be able to last on just a single charge. I've got more than enough juice even throughout this quick trip. I have been using this as my GPS device to get up north, and frustratingly, like I mentioned, it does not have Android Auto built into this car. No fault to the phone. It's shocking that a $200,000 car cannot figure out how to hook up to an Android device. And as I've kind of been waiting for this car juice up, I've been going through the M3 Pro, and it's been surprisingly quick. We actually have improved internals this year. They've switched to a MediaTek 700 processor with dual 5G, and some of the games that I've downloaded aren't any slouches. There's some pretty graphic intensive ones. I've been able to play most of them on medium to maybe even high settings without any lag or any stutter. But yeah, overall the M3 Pro has really exceeded my expectations for a $200 device, and still remains one of my favorite budget entry-level models, even though technically when you look at this, it's more of a mid-range spec. I love now that they've introduced 5G to the M series just to make it more competitive. Maybe my next request would be to get 4K into the cameras just so we could shoot some crispier shots. But let me know what you thought of the B-roll. And like I said, for $200, I'll say that again for the last time, you can save up your cookies to maybe buy something more expensive like this car. Anyways, I can see that on the console we've got enough juice to kind of make it up. So we'll wrap up this video by saying, is the switch to the Taycan worth it? You know, range issues aside, I don't think anything can beat the Taycan Turbo. I think this is the best electric vehicle money can buy. If you do need the range, nothing currently beats the Tesla game. I have driven the Model S a couple times, and I think it's a pretty fair comparison. I think the Taycan looks sportier, it's got a better interior, but like I said, the range I think is what really still limits this car. For me personally, being a bit of a petrol head, a bit of an OG analog guy, my 911 still calls to me, and I know a lot of you that watch this will probably think I'm a bit crazy, a bit dumb. I did a poll on Instagram, a lot of you still pick electric, and I get it. This is the future. This is deathly fast. School's whatever I have. But I do think when this kind of tech makes its way to the SUV line, so whether that's the Macan or the Cayenne, that could be a game changer, because I do love the space and I do love the versatility. Maybe I'll just keep my 911 as my fun little sports car. So to wrap it up, right now in this exact moment, the electric game I'm still waiting out for. I'm left with the two options that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. The 992 GT3, which I've got a pre-order on. I will lose some of the creature comforts. No moonroof or sunroof, no back seats, so RIP to Link. And I know that that new particulate filter makes it sound a bit on the muted side, so maybe the right choice is just to leave or stick with my GTS. Let me know down below in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this kind of dilemma and how I integrated the Poco M3 into this video, into this rant, into this plea for help for you guys to help me decide, and I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace!